Liberia has its own voice. OK Newsnet, your voice.
A pleasant good morning from the nation's capital, Monrovia. Welcome to Newsnet here on OKFM 99.5. The time is 6 o'clock, and here's a quick look at our top stories. Family members of Nico Ivanka victims threatening to campaign for Liberia to boycott, that's Liberians to boycott October elections over government delay to provide them compensation. Also coming up, University of Liberia Faculty Association condemns attack on individuals by some students of the university, describes the act as unsolicited. Cross-section of Liberians are calling for the relocation of the famous Palm Grove Cemetery in central Monrovia, termed the cemetery as a home to disadvantaged youths. And of the home front, fighting is continuing between the army of the Democratic Republic of Congo and M23 rebels in violation of Tuesday's ceasefire. Details of these stories plus more are coming up. My name is Fatu Kamara. We take a very short break and we come back. We bring you the news bulletin. Welcome back to Newsnet. Here now is a full bulletin of news with Augustine Kollie.
Family members of victims of the Nico Ivanka vessel have threatened to lead a campaign for citizens to boycott all activities leading to the October 10 general elections if government fails to settle them as was agreed upon. In July of 2021, 17 people lost their lives on the vessel, including 9 staff of the West African Examination Council after the vessel reportedly sunk into Liberian waters. Decorating the graves of their deceased on Wednesday, families said the government has failed to pay 20,000 US dollars. That's family members of victims of the Nico Ivanka vessel have threatened to lead a campaign for citizens to boycott all activities leading to the October 10 general elections if government fails to settle them as was agreed upon. In July 2021, 17 people lost their lives on the vessel, including 9 staff of the West African Examination Council, after the vessel was reported to be in distress and later sunk. Decorating the graves of the deceased on Wednesday, the families said the government has failed to pay 20,000 US dollars to each families of the victims. They alleged that since the Senate mandated the National Port Authority and the Liberia Maritime Authority to pay the said compensation to the victim's family, the two institutions have deliberately refused to do so. According to them, they have engaged all actors involved for help, but to no avail, and described the action as unfair, while at the same time threatening to also boycott the October pools. The University of Liberia Faculty Association is reminding all students at the nation's institution of higher learning that it is their responsibility to contribute to the civility of society. UFAL also condemns the unsolicited attacks on faculty, public officials, students, and visitors alike by rampaging students on the campuses of the University of Liberia. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the University Faculty Association stated that attacking someone because of their association and alignment or particular ideology is the least intellectual weapon anyone can use. According to the statement, violence is never a solution to any problem and should never be a hallmark of students whom are grooming to become future leaders of the country. The University of Liberia Faculty Association therefore calls on the UL administration to institute immediate investigation into the recent attack on Aloysius Howard and all other attacks and bring the perpetrators to order with the strongest deterrent to future perpetrators. On the occasion marking Decoration Day, cross-section of Liberians called for the relocation of the famous Palm Grove Cemetery in central Monrovia. The group of Liberians told reporters on Wednesday that the condition of the cemetery is appalling. They asserted that most of them who went to the cemetery experienced difficulties to locate the graves of their loved ones. They claimed that the cemetery has now become the dwelling place for folks who they described as disadvantaged youths. Liberia's First Lady Claudia is urging countries to focus on and support grassroots innovations in the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases, especially among women and girls. Delivering the keynote address on Monday at a side event titled Gender Equity and Rights in the Prevention and Control of NCDs, the role of digital health, First Lady Claudia emphasized that grassroots innovations can help identify clear needs and gaps in local communities and promote equitable, inclusive, and sustainable solutions for the prevention and control of NCDs, especially among women and girls. Mrs. Weir described as alarming, heartbreaking, and unacceptable the fact that non-communicable diseases are a leading cause of death globally, resulting in 150 million premature deaths among people aged between 30 to 70 years, mostly in developing countries. The Liberian First Lady used the occasion to share efforts by the Office of the First Lady of Liberia through the She's You movement to ensure girls and women in Liberia have greater access to health care, addressing issues of gender disparities and inequality. Also speaking at the side event, Gender Minister Willamita Sidita said the use of digital health in Liberia is still being piloted, but it's helping to improve efficiency in reducing the time span and boosting the accuracy of health interventions. The National Youth League of the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change has written the National Elections Commission and diplomatic missions in Liberia, complaining of threats on the life of its party Secretary General Jefferson Koji. CDC Youth League in its communication said the threat was issued by popular talk show host Henry Costa, who the Youth League describes as chief strategist to Unity Party standard-bearer Joseph Boakai. They accused Costa of sitting in the United States and consistently issuing threats against the peace and democracy of the country and said the latest threat was issued a few days ago. Addressing scores of reporters on Tuesday, CDC Youth League Chairman Emmanuel Johnson said Costa can be heard in a live podcast causing pandemonium among peaceful citizens. He said the act of the All-Liberian Party executive, if care is not taken, could degenerate into violence ahead of October's elections. The CDC Youth League chair said the threat is only meted against the party's Secretary General, but also extended to Liberia's international partners, specifically the ECOWAS resident representative to Liberia. People's Liberation Party has elected its former national chairman Tapla Doe as political leader and Montserrat, the former senatorial candidate Bernard Benson, as chairman. Both leaders of the PLP were elected at a special national convention in Monrovia to serve the party for the next 6 years. In remarks after the election, Chairman Bernard Benson vowed to work with other executive members in moving the party forward. Bernard Benson alias DJ Blue said the People's Liberation Party is open for collaboration with other political parties in the interests and forward march of the Liberian people. Meanwhile, PLP's new political leader, Tabula Doe, promised to keep the dreams of the party alive. Doe added that the PLP is here to serve the Liberian people with quality leadership, which is one of the dreams of its vision bearer, the late Dr. Daniel Cassell. Former Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister Sylvester Peewee is calling on former TRC Chairman Councillor Jerome Verdier to desist from pointing accusing fingers at government officials without facts. He frowned at Councillor Verdier's accusation linking Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Kollie to the death of Charlo Musu, daughter of former Chief Justice Gloria Musu's court. Sylvester Peewee encouraged Councillor Verdier and other individuals to engage Mayor Kollie through political contestation, then engaging into allegations. The former Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister at the same time frowned at those who chased Aloysius Howard out of the University of Liberia main campus on Tuesday. According to him, such action by the UL students is wrong and must be condemned by every well-meaning citizen. Mr. Peewee recounted previous occasions where some prominent government officials were booed by students on the UL campus, including Vice President Joel Howard Taylor, former Solicitor General Serena Cephas, and former Minister of State Nathaniel McGill, among others. He is, however, calling on the University of Liberia administration to take a stand against the students' action. The standard bearer of the Students' Movement for Democratic Alliance at the AME Zion University has denied allegation of accusing the university administration of denying him the opportunity to serve the senior class as president because of his religion and tribal background. Fumbability stated, the African Methodist Episcopal Zion University is not noted of Georgian students on the basis of their tribal or religious affection. Ability said he believes in religious tolerance. As such, he cannot make such statement against the institution that has impacted knowledge in him. According to him, the allegation is intended to damage his character that he has built over the years. Deputy Education Minister for Administration, Latin Daton, is encouraging students and youth to compare and contrast the 170 years existence of Liberia and the 6 years governance of President George Weah. He said over the last 170 years of existence, previous governments have not been able to make Liberia look like Dubai, but the last 6 years of President Weah administration, young people can now sit the WASP free of charge. Minister Daton spoke at programs marking the 107th National Decoration Day organized by the Ministry of Education in Monrovia. Also speaking, the superintendent of the Monrovia Consolidated School System, Isaac Zawolo, cautioned students and young people not to be carried away by people who have promised to make bridge where there is no river when they are just wishing to enter government as springboard to serve their retirement. Away from Liberia, fighting is continuing between the Army of the Democratic Republic of Congo and M23 rebels in violation of Tuesday's ceasefire. Local media said the word clashes on several fronts in the eastern province of North Kivu. The rebels are reported to have seized a number of villages, including Karuba, which is around 30 kilometers from the regional capital Goma. The army has accused M23 of shelling UN peacekeepers and Burundian soldiers from an East African force recently deployed in an effort to stop the violence. And that's a shape of the news bulletin. Is back to Fatu Kamara for continuation of Newsnet.
The news bulletin is a regular feature on Newsnet. A reminder, you are listening to Newsnet here on OKFM 99.5. Headlines we follow with this morning. Families of Nico Ivanka vessel victims threaten to campaign for Liberians to boycott October elections over government's delay to provide them compensation. University of Liberia Faculty Association condemns attack on individuals by some students of the university, describes the act as unsolicited. Cross-section of Liberians are calling for the relocation of the famous Palm Grove Cemetery in central Monrovia, termed the cemetery as home of disadvantaged youths. Of the home front, fighting is continuing between the Army of the Democratic Republic of Congo and M3 rebels in violation of Tuesday's ceasefire. We take another break and we'll come back. We'll bring you the voices of those making the news. Welcome back to Newsnet. Let's take our first story. It can be recalled in July of 2021, 17 people lost their lives on a vessel, including 9 workers of the West African Examination Council, after it reported to be in distress and later sunk on Liberian waters. Meanwhile, family members of the Nico Ivanka vessel victims have threatened to lead campaign in sensitizing citizens of Liberia to boycott all activities leading to October 10, 2023 general elections if government does not live up to its promises. According to the family members, their decision to boycott the pending election is due to government's failure to adhere to the US $20,000 compensation promised to each family member of the 17 people who lost their lives.
I'm Jesse Yodima. I'm the chairman and the spokesperson of the victim family. They made a promise that they will give the families, the senator, they will make sure they provide something like $20,000 to each victim family and some amount to the business people who lost their businesses in the process. And since that time, nothing is yielding. Now we are resolved to maintain the same educated manner. So how are we going to do it? We have resolved the family. This death is connected to the 15 counties. We're going to stay away from the election process. Nobody going to register for this election. And we're going to campaign. We're campaigning against the election process because as much as the people don't recognize us, they don't see our brothers as important. So we too are also the same.
My name is Sam K. Kollie, uncle to the late Stephen M. Kollie. Stephen M. Kollie was my nephew. I told Stephen M. Kollie at the age of 4, then to school, graduated from high school, to college, even graduated from La Costa, College. This was his first job that he got with wire. He's a guy that his family ready or hoping on. Our people are there, are left in the Atlantic Ocean, and the government have been done anything for the family, for the victim family. At our stake now, we will not take part in any election. I'm going to communicate with my people up in Chile. If I have people all around the country, we're going to communicate with them. We will not take part in the election.
I'm Elder Doma L.V. Dolo, the father of the late Akasa G. Dolo. Government will not come to our aid. We will not take part in election. Personally, we leave here and go to Nimba County. The desperate from this serving. I will not take part in election. We will not take part in election.
Family members of victims of the Nico Ivanka vessel that sunk on Liberian waters in July of 2020, they're calling on the government to make available the amount of US $20,000 compensation they promised each victim family. On the occasion marking the Decoration Day, cross-section of Liberians are calling for the relocation of the famous Palm Grove Cemetery in central Monrovia. The group of Liberians told reporters on Wednesday that the condition of the cemetery is appalling. They asserted that most of them who went at the cemetery experienced difficulties to relocate their graves. That's the graves of their lost ones.
Relocate because the place not too fine. Yeah, coming to Decoration Day that day, at least to spend spend time with your loved ones. But and then you come in, the place is not conducive, nowhere to even stay, nowhere to even sit. The place bar off, people send, the place poor, nowhere to even get through. Yeah, so we finding it difficult to come. Showing the place for government will be too hard for government to recondition the place. Because they started, but it hard. For one fact here, the president, only 2 eyes the president has. Because the president got 2 eyes, he facing the other ones that is around him. The president get able to see Central Street, what going on Central Street. That people from Central Street will reach information to the president. So my suggestion here is to relocate everybody that here. Find somewhere suitable all of the city.
Group of Liberians there suggesting that the relocation of the Palm Grove Cemetery in Monrovia, that's on Center Street there. That's asserting that they're finding it difficult to locate the graves of their loved ones. The National Youth League of the ruling coalition for democratic change has written the National Elections Commission and diplomatic missions in Liberia, complaining of threat on the life of its party's Secretary General Jefferson Kollie. CDC Youth League in its communication said the threat was issued by popular talk show host Henry Costa, who the Youth League describes as chief strategist of Unity Party's standard-bearer, Joseph Boakai. CDC Youth League chairman is Emmanuel Johnson. He has been speaking at a news conference on Tuesday.
Dear Councillor Lassana, we present sincere compliments and wish to draw your attention to the statement emanating from the chief strategist and propagandist of Mr. Joseph Yuman Boakai, standard bearer of the Unity Party. Mr. Henry P. Costa issuing threat on the life of our Secretary General Jefferson Tamakoji of the Indomitable Coalition for Democratic Change. Costa, as Mr. Boakai chief strategist, sits in the United States of America and constantly issues threats against our peace and democracy. This latest threat was issued a few days ago, calling on all opposition leaders and supporters to do possible to assassinate our Secretary General, Comrade Jefferson Tamakoji. Mr. Costa can be heard in a live podcast in which I play in his capacity as chief strategist of the Joseph Yuman Boakai campaign team, while sitting in the United States, issuing threats that is causing pandemonium among our peaceful citizens, for which, if care is not taken, could degenerate our country into violence ahead of our electoral process that is scheduled for October 10, 2023. Madam Chair, this threat is not only being muted against our Secretary General, but also being extended to our international partners.
CDC Youth League Chairman Emmanuel Johnson there. Meanwhile, Johnson has also complained that it is not Henry Costa's first time issuing threats on the life of the CDC Secretary General.
Madam Chair, this is not the first time that the opposition, including Mr. Costa, has issued a statement targeting the life of Mr. Koji and other members of our party. A few days ago, we informed your office in a letter dated February 8, 2023, about the setting ablaze of our paraphernalia, T-shirt, bearing the insignia of the Indomitable Coalition for Democratic Change. That was done under the alleged instruction of the political leader of the Alternative National Congress, Mr. Alexander B. Cummings.
Emmanuel Moba, National Chairman of the Youth League of the Coalition for Democratic Change. People's Liberation Party has elected its former National Chairman, Tapla Doe, as political leader of Montserrat, that's in Montserrat County, former senatorial candidate Bernard Benson as chairman. Both leaders of the PLP were elected at a special national convention in Monrovia to serve the party for the next 6 years. In remarks after their re-election, PLP's new political leader, Tapla Doe, promised to keep the dreams of the party alive.
This party has been the party of the people. We came in with that platform. Dr. Kessel has branded this party to be what it is today. And I think we are very happy that we can be here to see his dream continue. He is with us in spirit, and I know what we are doing today was just what he wanted to do. We are a party that open to serve the Liberian people, and by collaborating would be the reason to serve Liberian people. Yes, we are very much into that discussion already with various political parties. Okay, and we are in serious discussion with one at which time you got.
PLP's new political leader Tapla Doe. For his part, PLP National Chairman Bernard Benson vowed to work with other executive members in moving the party forward.
Well, we are open. Our party is open for all collaborative talks right now. Our leadership, including our political leader, we are open to any conversation. Let me tell you, a People's Liberation Party, and I got to give this credence to our former political leader, Dr. Daniel Kess. He did a very good job in structuring this institution. It's not a small party. This party, I think, is perhaps, and I'll be on record for saying, the only party that has headquarters, administrative headquarters in every county, in the 15 counties, Liberia.
People's Liberation Party National Chairman Bernard Benson. Deputy Education Minister for Administration Latin Daton is encouraging students and youths to compare and contrast the 170 years existence of Liberia and the 6 years governance of President George Weah. He said over the last 170 years of existence, previous governments have not been able to make Liberia look like Dubai. But the last 6 years of President Weah administration, young people can now sit the wax free of charge. Minister Daton spoke at a program marking the 107th National Decoration Day organized by the Ministry of Education in Monrovia.
Many of you in this room will make that decision. And as you make that decision, I want you to consider your personal role in the future of this country. You find yourself at a very important juncture in the history of this country. We have a responsibility to leave behind a Liberia that is better than what we inherited. That is the call of this generation. That has become the challenge of our time. There are those I will want you to believe that Liberia is not getting better. Liberia is 176 years old. When you subtract 6 from 176, what do you get? You get 170. For 170 years, Liberia didn't look like Dubai. For 170 years, many of the vices you see existed in this country. For 170 years, we have made slow progress.
He is Deputy Education Minister for Administration, Latin Daton. Also speaking, the Superintendent of Monrovia Consolidated School System, Isaac Zawolo, cautioned students and young people not to be carried away by people who have promised to make bridges where there is no river, when they are just wishing to enter government as springboard to serve their retirement.
As we reflect on the lives of our fallen heroes, you must learn from their examples. They distinguish themselves by being involved in deep thoughts and were not carried away by doomsday prophets who saw nothing in Liberia until it was time for them to find a retirement job yet. As young people, you should not allow yourself to be misled by those who barely ever identify with you while they enjoy their spoils in faraway lands. You should also not allow yourself to be born by those who failed when they were given the opportunity, but now are purporting to have all the solutions of Liberia's problems.
The Superintendent of the Monrovia Consolidated School System, Isaac Zawolo, there. Former Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister Sylvester Peewee is calling on former TRC Chairman Councillor Jerome Verdier to desist from pointing accusing fingers at government officials without facts. He frowned at Councillor Verdier's accusation linking Monrovia City Mayor Jefferson Koji to the death of Chalo Musu, daughter of former Chief Justice Gloria Musu Scott.
Remember, Councillor Jerome Vedder came up with not only a sinister motive leader, but he came up with a kind of a blatant and malicious lies against the current mayor with no iota of evidence to prove his accusation against the mayor of Monrovia, that the mayor was directly involved with the situation. That's quite unfortunate. It's alarming. Precisely. But even all of the radio appearances he's making, when he's asked about this process, he's giving no evidence. He's saying they're giving a lead. It's unfortunate. And that's part of the reason why his request was turned down by the RCT.
Former Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister Sylvester Peewee. Meanwhile, the former Assistant Minister at the same time frowned at those who chased Aloysius Howell out of the University of Liberia main campus on Tuesday.
It is quite unfortunate that this young man will be attacked while visiting the University of Liberia main campus. Remember, the university is supposed to be the macrocosm of the larger society, where everyone will go for a visitation in terms of intellectual exchange, academic activities, and the rest of it. We all got engaged in student participation at the University of Liberia campus. I'm a proud graduate of the university. We all went to the University of Liberia, but to begin the process of allowing to get proximity, it's not only Aloysius.
He is former Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister Sylvester Peewee. On Tuesday, March 7, 2023, two more prosecution witnesses appeared at the Pew hearings for former Revolutionary United Front Commander Gabriel Massacre. The witnesses testified for Finnish prosecutors who are seeking to prove that a district court erred when it acquitted Massacre for charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity in April 2021. For Quick Law of Luke's FM and New Narratives is at the hearings of the LRJ Hotel in Monrovia and summarizes up the testimonies. We will bring you that voice of Quick Law in our subsequent newscast. But a representative aspirant of Montserrat County District 12, Emmanuel Robinson, has raised in the National Elections Commission demanding answers over a decision by the electoral body to remove one of the voting precincts from Kessley Boulevard ahead of the elections. In his communication, Robinson complained that the Wisdom Heritage Muslim School precinct was removed from the list after being used by the National Elections Commission for over 18 years.
Issue and take a communication to the chairperson, Madam Laksana, who is spearheading the entire election processes across the country along with a team in terms of bringing their attention to this burning issue that has to do with our people getting access to the voter registration processes so that we may be a participant in making decisions for the growth and development of our country and the district at large.
He said prior to this communication, the NEC changed the area. Did they inform stakeholders in the area, or did they give any reason why they do that?
As far as stakeholders in the community were concerned, they up to 2020 they used these two centers to conduct the election of 2020. They were very effective, very efficient relative to the outcome that the media in terms of participation for our people were very good. But to our surprise, last night, when we uploaded the various centers that have been published by NEC, the publication has cancelled Wisdom Heritage Muslim School that is on the Cassidy Boulevard, that is also been a police center over the last 18 years.
A representative aspirant in Montserrat County District 12, Emmanuel Robertson there. Montserrat County District 8 aspirant Rufus Tuasam says government's request for an autopsy on the remains of late Charlotte Musu is a mere strategy to sway the ongoing investigation. He noted that results of previous autopsies conducted by the Liberian government have not been reliable.
The police through the hair have been accused, allegedly, by Verdio. Okay? So what I want to recommend is that
Consider Verdio accused the hair or the Monrovia City Corporation?
Monrovia City Corporation, he also accused, they told the police to step down. And he went further in disclosing some information regarding inmates from the central bank. So what I want to advance here is that they should bring international experts. The police cannot be trusted to handle this situation.
Why?
They cannot be trusted. They are being accused. Their hands have been, allegedly being put into the cookie jar.
The Montserrat County District 8 aspirant has also vowed to defeat the district current lawmaker Akaris Gray in the October elections.
The needs of the people. So in our first 3 months, when we have been mandated through the vote of the people comes October 10, we will take the first 3 months to do needs assessment. You ask as to whether we are not done.
So do you want to be elected before you do an assessment of the people's problem?
You ask whether we have done needs assessment.
Yes, to know the problem.
Let me tell you that the people also are very sensitive. Most of the things you will do now, they feel that it's political. They feel that politicians have short memory.
Montserrat County District 8 representative aspirant Rufus Towasam, the standard bearer of the Students' Movement for Democratic Alliance at the AME Zion University, has denied allegation of accusing the university administration of denying him the opportunity to serve the senior class as president because of his religion and tribal background. Former ability stated that the African Methodist Episcopal Zion University is not noted for judging students on the basis of their tribal or religious affection.
To provide you some clarity regarding the statement that was made during the electoral process by our public relations officer in Samuel Tukpa. If you can recall, during the election he said it was because I'm a Mandingo man, I'm a Muslim, that is why I was denied the presidential post of the senior class. I being one of the stand-up bearers of our party, the Student Movement for Democratic Alliance, I have come to say that was totally wrong, to say that it was because of religious differences or tribal differences that I was denied these elections, though there were issues which we are handling.
Former ability, the standard bearer of the Students' Movement for Democratic Alliance at the AME Zion University. Liberia is expected to host the next edition of the Technology Summit under the theme Our Digital Future. Contains 20 sessions with 30 different speakers, both from local and international community. The summit will take place between March 29 to 31, 2023 at the Monrovia City Corporation. The founder and executive director of Monrovia Technology Summit, Peter Kollie, has been explaining more about it when he appeared on our sister's program, Private Sector Hour, on Wednesday.
Okay, the summit is an annual event that gathers IT professionals and leaders, business leaders, technologists, people who are in the tech sector, as well as entrepreneurs who are trying to set up digital businesses. And then we gather and we have key presenters, international presenters. We have local presenters like people who have done research in Liberia. Our focus for this year is digital future for Liberia. We are looking at what can we do to ensure there's a digital transformation in Liberia.
Peter Kollie there is the founder and executive director of the Monrovia Technology Summit. The Veterans Bureau of Liberia has turned as barbaric Tuesday's attack by students of the University of Liberia on Aloysius Howard, an employee of the Ministry of Finance. On Tuesday, some students believed to be members of the Students' Unification Party chased out Aloysius Howe from the main campus of the UL on Capitol Hill, calling him a thief. The Secretary General of the Veterans Bureau, Roland Tiba, asserted that the action by the students was uncalled for and uncivilized.
The Veterans Bureau condemned the unhealthy attack on Mr. Howard, a staffer in the office of Minister of Finance, the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, a former student leader of the University of Liberia and member of the Veterans community. Weber believed that the authority of the University of Liberia should speedily investigate the situation and bring all perpetrators to justice. The Veterans Bureau, in recent times, our intelligence has informed us that Cell Act was shamelessly planted and implemented by some students of the University of Liberia who believe to be member of the Vanguard Student Unification Party, and there is a footage circulating across the social media with a group of young students wearing the regalia of the Vanguard Party. In view of the foregoing, we are calling on all students, specifically students at the University of Liberia, to be more focused on their academic activities rather than being involved or be used to carry out violence.
Roland Tiba is the Secretary General of the Veterans Bureau, and that voice brings us to the end of this edition of Newsnet. But before we go, let's read you headlines of our big stories. Families of Nico Ivanka vessel victims threaten to campaign for Liberians to boycott October elections over government's delay to provide them compensation. University of Liberia Faculty Association condemns attack on individuals by some students of the university, describes the act as unsolicited. Cross-section of Liberians are calling for the relocation of the famous Palm Grove Cemetery in central Monrovia, termed the cemetery as a home to disadvantaged youths. And of the home front fighting is continuing between the Army of the Democratic Republic of Congo and M3 rebels in violation of Tuesday's ceasefire. Augustine Kollie was here with the news bulletin and the regional news. Eddie Punisat at controls and ably handled our sounds, and we want to apologize. We could not read some of the comments he left on OKFM Facebook post last evening because of time. Thanks to all of the media institutions that relayed this edition of Newsnet. My name is Fatu Kamara. Good morning, and thanks for listening and watching.